B is for Bourgeoisie by Gregory Lebens-Higgins. Read by the author. America didn't have any self-admitted proletarians, wrote John Steinbeck. Everyone was a temporarily embarrassed capitalist. But unless they owned the business, this capitalist was probably just another member of the working class, producing profit for the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie are the ruling class of our historical epoch. Replacing monarchies determined by blood or divinity, the bourgeoisie now own the means of production, land, factories, and capital necessary to produce commodities. These commodities are created with the labor of workers in the process of production. Yet when sold for profit, only a fraction of the value is returned to its creator. The bourgeoisie are compelled by competition to accumulate the remainder. To maintain their place in the market, they must expand and innovate, and they are compelled by ego to maintain the accoutrements of their status. They must also fend off working-class assertions of class interest by lowering wages, extending hours, and breaking unions. In The Power Elite, 1956, C. Wright Mills takes a broader view of the elite as self-conscious members of an upper social class. Though dated, Mills provides a useful analysis of those political, economic, and military circles which, as an intricate set of overlapping cliques, share decisions having at least national consequences. Class consciousness is formed among the elite by psychological and social unity. Men of similar origin and education, with similar careers and lifestyles. The interwoven institutional hierarchies of the political, corporate, and military elite further shape the relations of their rulers. Finally, the class-conscious bourgeoisie coordinate to maintain their position. As the institutional mechanics of our time have opened up avenues to men pursuing their several interests, many of them have come to see that these several interests could be realized more easily if they worked together, in informal as well as in more formal ways. However, members of the bourgeoisie do not always put their self-interest aside. The bourgeoisie consists of factions shaped by their basis for securing capital. In the 18th Brumaire, Marx describes the friction between landed property and capital. What kept these two factions apart was not any so-called principles, it was their material conditions of existence, two different kinds of property. Upon the different forms of property, upon the social conditions of existence, rises an entire superstructure of distinct and peculiarly formed sentiments, illusions, modes of thought, and views of life. The entire class creates and forms them out of its material foundations and out of the corresponding social relations. Another faction of the bourgeoisie are small business owners who still participate in the work. These petty bourgeoisie are at risk of falling into the proletariat from competition with centralized monopoly. They are less secure in their class position and become the most reactionary, fighting any encroachments on their property and finding scapegoats, rather than capitalism itself, on which to blame their troubles. They are the face of Trump's beautiful boaters. The bourgeoisie is propped up by bureaucratic institutions staffed by the professional managerial class. These workers, elevated above manual labor by social status, come to identify with the bourgeoisie. Their loyalty is ensured by the promise of stability. But such stability is no longer a guarantee. The professional managerial class no longer receives the benefit of the deal. Student debt, the erosion of benefits, and rising prices push them further into the proletariat. Meanwhile, the bourgeoisie is unraveling. As Mills reminds us, its structure is not meritocratic. The man who is rising gets involved in the accumulation of advantages, which is merely another way of saying that to him that hath shall be given. The capabilities of the bourgeoisie erode with the pampering of each successive generation. The very institutions that support the cohesiveness and maintenance of the bourgeoisie are being destroyed in its race to suck up remaining profits from the public sector. Meanwhile, the resentment of the petty bourgeoisie is increasingly unstable in its support for the destructive policies of Trump. These weaknesses provide an opening for a new historical epoch, one defined by democratic control of the entire working class. The bourgeoisie has outlived its usefulness and is unable to deliver anything beyond destruction. For progress, the means for a dignified life must be guaranteed to all.